Diggity dog. Diggity dog.
We are not streaming 2K15.
We are not going to talk some Star Wars, people.
Star Wars. Talking about Star Wars. If
I know the lyrics to his song.
Yeah,
I do.
Every day.
It goes, Star Wars, if they could. Bar Wars.
Wait, I thought we were talking about the new movie Sing and all our favorite songs in it.
Please let.
If
they could Bar Wars, please let these Star Wars stay.
If only we had Paul Schaefer here playing in the background. You're kooky. You're a wild one.
That would be nutty.
Well, actually, that was Dennis Miller I did there. Not, but hey, everybody. It is time to yeah, we just came hot off of seeing Rogue One, and we're here to share our spoilery thoughts. But we're warning you about it now, so in case you just are like, oh boy, a new stream from Laser Time.
No, we're not talking about SummerSlam. We're not talking about SummerSlam.
No, we are spoiling Rogue One. So if you haven't seen it, if you haven't gone rogue yet with Sarah Palin, then you need to. Go away.
Yeah, welcome to the second segment of Laser Time. We are talking Rogue One, and here be spoilers. You have been warned. We have seen the movie. We will be spoiling things in every detail we can because I think we're all pretty goddamn excited at this point. So, hold on, kick it off. I need to embed the thing in the article.
It's already there.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's why all of our friends are here.
Hey, how about that?
Hi, everybody.
Connor Wade saw it last night, so we have just returned, like literally just returned from our Rogue One screening. I am in love, by the way, with our 11:30 screening process. It really makes me happy.
It's nice to be done. Just have the evening to ourselves.
Exactly.
As long as I don't start drinking beer till after the previews, it's basically noon.
And you really did.
Hey.
Okay, I look stupid in that picture. Not going to look at myself in the stream. Yeah, we just saw Rogue One, and I think all of us emerged very positive, right?
I think I was the most positive out of it. I think I was shocked to hear from our friend Charlie. He was not super. He didn't love it.
Well, and again, maybe we'll. How about for the first 10 minutes we'll go light spoilery. We'll talk about the movie broadly. It's a terrible way to put it, but it was a manlier Star Wars movie than I thought. Charlie's a man with 2 young daughters who's very excited to show them the Star Wars trilogy. And
this one maybe not.
And I can see why Force Awakens would reinforce that entirely.
It's a hard.
I don't think that's why he didn't like the movie.
He said it's because it's not fun.
Yeah,
and I think that I was talking to Cherry about that too, because they do want to show their to the daughters, but like this movie to me was a manly movie. It felt like a war movie. I thought from the looks of it, it would be a heist film, but it felt a lot more like in moments Saving Private Ryan, other moments Inglourious Bastards, people on a warlike mission behind enemy lines, covert, where they are all going to get killed
against all odds, trying to stop this giant monster.
At times wearing like World War II-esque helmets.
Totally.
Like,
but that's the whole
Rebels
point.
ever wear helmets like that?
Yeah, they look. There's a reason George Lucas made Red Wings later. He does love World War II and the action of it. Like he stole from so many things, but World War II is one of them.
Connor Wade says it felt more like a heist film to me. Well, what about the last hour?
Yes,
there was no heist involved there. They're alerted to their presence, and it's just a war film.
I would definitely say Darker Than Empire, Brendolph. Yeah, because.
Points off for no crawl, says Chase Kennedy. I don't
feel like it's Darker Than Empire though, because you already know going in the stakes and you like everything, whereas Empire's like the characters suffer such a blow. The whole movement is punched in the dick. This movie's like they succeeded in the thing you knew they would succeed.
That's what we were talking about. It was not a will they won't they situation. When you walked in the movie, you knew these people were going to succeed in their mission. It was sort of like, do you like these characters and are you rooting for them, and do you think they'll make it out alive?
I kind of wasn't. I wasn't.
And I think it might
motivated by most.
For
of these
some
characters.
people, it might have failed in that respect. But like I just watched Inglourious Bastards, and that's what it reminded me of.
I agree. No crawl needed, says Derek, because it's a flashback. You don't need an explanation of context because you have all the context you need from your memories.
Aaron Steinbach. I will talk about Aaron Steinbach said loves the Shades of Grey. Me too. Get to that in a moment because I can stay lightly away from spoilers by responding. Because does Alan Tudyk have 2 dicks?
He's got 0. He's a robot.
He's got 0. Alan Tudyk. They call him that because he's got 2. No, I'm not going to make the joke again. But he is. Did you realize he had become Disney's Good Luck Charm, their Cliff Clavin.
He is the king. It just happened so gradually. I didn't even notice, but it really did because he was. I've loved Alan Tudyk
since the Strangers with Candy episode.
Stranger with Candy in 98 or 97, like 20-ish years.
And he does. Did you notice he's flying the aircraft at one point and says something about the wind?
Fuck, you're right. That's a wash line. Oh my god. It's Firefly.
He just says the wind, and I got like I'm getting goosebumps now just saying it again. But he's become Disney's Good Luck Charm. He was King Candy, and could you even do you remember King Candy?
Yeah, King Candy.
You could not recognize him in that role.
He was the Duke of Wesselton.
Yes,
and Duke Weaselton in Zootopia.
And he is the chicken in Moana.
Wow.
Who has no human being lines, no English lines.
I mean, C-3PO doesn't strike me as the type, but like, have there been droids that have directly flown a plane like that? Not like
C-3PO actually does fly blind. At the end of in episode 3, he says it's a good thing I took all these flying lessons because George Lucas realized somebody has to fly them away from Mustafar, and it can't be Obi-Wan. Okay, then C-3PO got flying lessons.
John Y. would love to talk about that, buddy. That's one of my standout issues with the film. I kind of wish they hadn't done that. Meet Gun Cannon D. You're on the same wavelengths with me. I don't know. What do you guys want to take the conversation?
Well, let's all just give our light spoilery feelings on it. I think. Let me say I really enjoyed it. I liked the story it told, and I liked that it wasn't leading to another thing. It was a story for that one. It really was. When they called it a Star Wars story, I was like, yeah, you say that, but people are going to continue on to the next one, or you're going to leave the door open for a sequel. Like, no. It was a Star Wars story, and it makes me more interested as a proof of concept of a non-chaptered film.
Right, like when we sat down, I said, we might want to get used to this because it looks like right before we leave for Christmas every year, we'll all be seeing a Star Wars movie together every single year.
Yes. Yeah.
I hope this is good.
Yeah.
And in talking to Brett before that, just that like that the last movie this guy made was Godzilla, which I was okay with on first viewing and watched it again and like, dude, the movie Monsters impressed me. I was impressed that he was making Godzilla.
Yeah.
If he makes another movie like this within the Star Wars universe, I will be upset. Because he didn't at all.
No.
Like he showed like real chops that I didn't even know he had.
Yeah, I forgot Gareth Edwards was the director, and like I wonder what the movie was 6 months ago because they did do reshoots.
Yeah, but they do reshoots on every movie.
They do shoots on every film. It does not. I mean, that sure didn't help Suicide Squad, but but I mean, Dave, Brett, what's your
assessment?
Overall?
I was amazed that like this movie fit in with one movie. A period of time that I kind of didn't care about. Like, who cares? I got the plans. But that this movie packed in more enjoyment that I got out of the prequel trilogy, which had a lot of stuff I wanted to see, come to fruition. Like how Anakin became Darth, and how all these people who they talk about in the past are dead. Like, and then it doesn't end up happening. And this movie just delivered on like, it was its own self-contained story.
It's a really solid action film, man. Elston.
I don't know. It's kind of with Charlie. I was kind of like middle of the road. Most of the movie didn't move me. I didn't dislike. I didn't dislike it, but I just like Willie Fresh saying in the chat here. Like I just felt like there was a lot of cliches, a lot of things where like once fans of things take over and start writing characters, you can. I don't know. I got a little bit more like. I get that you want to connect the threads, and there are definitely threads to connect, but there's just so many winking nods at the camera where it's like. We didn't need this many, man. And, like, I don't know. There's just so many where I'm like, yes, I get it. I've seen Star Wars. Like, you can tell a story and not lean so hard. So here's a cameo from this. 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 Like,
cameos.
I get why they're there, but the odds that in a galaxy that's at war with itself, that these same, like, 5 things keep showing up is like, I dare your ass to make a movie without cameos.
And that's another thing I'm worried about.
Just make a movie.
They have to lean completely on things established within the first.
And then the almost
movies.
Music over and over again. It's
almost
not the Imperial.
I thought I really liked it in the beginning, but as it went on, I really got annoyed with the new score.
I was the opposite. Really? At the beginning, it's like, so you have to be.
The guy scored Lost.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Well, what happened at the beginning is like, oh, you are just playing like these common Star Wars themes, but changing the notes, maybe like doing them in verse. So it's still it kind of tries to evoke something, but then at the end. I'm just gonna say it goes full Lost. That music at the end is like somebody dying on Lost, and it's like, well, and, maybe that's just
I enjoyed, I enjoyed the cameos of like Red Leader when he shows up. I'm like, oh, nice, and then he's gone. It's like cool, and then fucking Tarkin is like.
All right. Do we want to?
Well, I just want to point this out. I think Perpetual Christopher says I think they did a real good job in rolling right up to the start of New Hope. Technically, this is a bit of an intraquel, a little more than it's.
I mean, it.
No, I guess
begins
not.
right when it ends.
It's a prequel.
There's your big. Well, you'll know that. And somebody said it on Facebook. Like, if you don't know what this. If you haven't seen this movie by the end of the weekend, you're not a Star Wars fan.
Well, let me say a bigger blanket statement, too. I think this is the best cast in a Star Wars series ever.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Felicity Jones is so great. Can you believe she was wasted in Amazing Spider-Man 2 as, just a side character as Felicia Hardy that they might make into Black Cat later? Diego Luna was awesome. We already talked about it on Two Dicks. But let me say, man, Donnie Yen. Yeah. I am disappointed by how many people I'm finding out who have never heard of Donnie Yen before. I'm
one of those people.
I don't follow.
That's quite a bubble you're in.
Okay, so post Hong Kong going back to the mainland, I didn't follow Chinese film as much, but Donnie Yen has been a superstar of the Chinese film industry for 20 years. Like he starred in Iron Monkey is one of his best, but he starred in a million Hong Kong films. He's not the Iron Monkey, but the visiting doctor, who's also awesome at Kung Fu.
It's been a while, but
and he's the star of the Ip Man series, which is the best Kung Fu series of films in the last few years. So you should watch Ip Man, at least one. I think it's on there. But so Donnie Yen just fucking rules, but he's rarely in American or English productions. And so even though he speaks English pretty all right, I think so.
No, Charlie keeps yelling about him repeating his Force mantra over and over again. And I think one of the most important things to distinguish this from one of the numbered Star Wars films, no love story, no Skywalkers, and no Force. Especially at this point, Luke discovering what he can do and us discovering who Obi-Wan is what's really important. There cannot be this many closeted Jedis throughout the universe. He has to be a Force fanboy.
They have to all be dead.
Yeah. Well, you can have there's Force sensitive people and there's Jedi.
Yeah. There are, but it seemed established that it wasn't Force when he's sensing things. It was damn right Ben Affleck Daredevil-esque by doing close-ups on the dirt.
Chirrut is that's Donnie Yen character. He was an overseer of the Kyber crystals, which if you watch the Clone Wars series, they talk it up a big bunch that the Kyber crystals are what you get to make your lightsaber, and going to the cave where you get it is a ritual. They don't just hand you one. And so you have to be a Force-sensitive guy if you're in charge of the crystals. And I did like that they made it clear the stuff that's in the Death Star is what makes lightsabers, and that's how perverted the Force has become in this universe.
I'm trying to keep up with the chat. They're all on Vader, and we had not gotten a Tarkin yet.
Yeah, so Tarkin, if it was a cameo, I would be totally down. But he wasn't. That wasn't a cameo. Yeah. He was a character in the film.
Dude, he was a huge character.
Look, guys,
which is a bit much.
Moff Tarkin runs the Death Star.
I know.
Correct, and that actor died 400 years ago.
I know, but there was other aspects of the Death Star we could have seen, and I use this as a comparison because we did a Monday Night Movie a year ago. I love seeing young Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy.
Yeah,
look up that trailer right now. You'll think you were blind 4 years ago. that ever looked good, and that was 4 years ago.
So, he looked fine most of the time.
Still uncanny. What I really want to do.
The first scene, it's I'm
talking about Tarkin.
I am dying. If anybody has an anecdote like that, I wish my girlfriend was there, who wouldn't have recognized who he was, and does he look weird to you? I really want to know what he looks like to people who don't know Tarkin.
He looked really weird, but there were times when it was fine. But if it was him facing away and you see his reflection, or he was a hologram,
that's what I thought they were going for.
It's cool. That would have been totally great. But when he keeps showing up, it's I'm just it wasn't eye-rollingly bad. It was just more. Whereas Leia at the end, that looked terrible.
Well, that's why they gave it to you very briefly.
Terrible.
That looked terrible.
That looked so bad.
I mean, because you only see her for 2 seconds, it looked okay, and they have access to. Carrie Fisher, so
it's
in
the film.
Yeah, so they obviously probably do a better job with her than dead guy.
Still, it was fine when she opened her mouth and said a word. I'm God damn it!
All right.
I thought they put more work into her than they did him.
I think they wrote themselves into a corner because if they want you to watch this and then immediately watch 4, then they don't want different actors for characters you've seen before. And so that's why
I get
one of my favorite rumors ever that came from Lucas is that he would go through with 7, 8, and 9. Taking place 2 years later with the cast voicing CG characters, and I'm okay. I would have preferred you kept human beings out of the prequels to begin with. That's neither here nor there.
There never won't be that uncanny valley.
Just Ainsworth saying the relationship between Tarkin and Krennic, as well as between Galen and Krennic, is expanded upon in the novel Catalyst and makes the first half of the movie so much better.
Really?
Which is cool to know.
But I don't want to read a book.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool to know.
I did too. John Watts said I thought Leia looked way better than Tarkin, but then again, we only saw her for a few seconds. But I was like soaking in those seconds because I was finding not big flaws in Tarkin, but it was distracting to have him like facing us for so long.
Well, but him taking over, it's a character point for Krennic as well that Tarkin takes over.
And I just watched, sadly, Final Fantasy Kingsglaive, and just my one takeaway that I put on Twitter, like, don't make these CG movies with human beings. Yeah. Like, just don't. Yeah. Just don't do it.
That Star Wars has kind of avoided it. The only times I even remember it is like the god-awful prequel saber fights where it's like these basic models.
They become like a Spider-Man model.
Yeah, especially. Well, but Peter Cushing was so great. I love Grand Moff Tarkin. So
I love the character.
I did too. John is saying Krennic. I love that Krennic was pissed over losing control of the Death Star. Yeah, I liked his character a lot, actually.
And he's a good character that segues into the aesthetic of a lot of this stuff, where he still looks like a 70s cruise ship runner.
Isn't that great?
And he's got a white suit with a white cape, and like everyone's
with all their candies,
trident medallions.
Yeah, and everything is an old fuzzy 4x3 standard def TV. It's still that 70s retro future that I love.
Say that again. What I think is so important about the Star Wars universe,
everyone's got mustaches and shit. Like
yes, that Darth Vader himself is a giant fucking disco samurai,
and his fucking lenses were red.
Yeah,
which were like only a New Hope thing.
But like Star Wars universe works, and you've heard this a billion times because it's a lived-in universe. Right. But from a story-based perspective, it's a 70s film, so it's based on the height of technology that they could imagine in the 70s. So you miss out on internet, iPhones, trans-global interactions, and I do love that about it because it makes it so if you need to talk to somebody or see something, you have to go there, and that will continue to make the series more interesting. And that it retains that look, man. I thought it looked amazing.
But all right, Vader. We should talk about it.
I actually it's a bad comparison, but watching all the promos for it and watching all the promos for Suicide Squad, it feels like what they did with the Joker. Like I feel like I saw like 3 scenes in the trailers that that were not in the movie.
No, the trailer has multiple scenes. I've seen multiple articles actually on my webpage fandom.com. They coworker
nice webpage, buddy.
They did a post.
You built that whole thing.
They did a post. Writer Chris Tilley did a post of 10 moments from the trailers that aren't in it,
and that happens.
People are but that's a lot. Like 10 is a lot. That's in something you see where like Fantastic Four, which the 2015 movie, which had so many changes, but. They made it real clear in the trailers. If you go to this movie, you're seeing Darth Vader.
Yeah, and Gun Cannon D is pointing out, I really like the saber fight at the end, but it did almost seem like a rushed add-on so they could make it really directly connect to the opening. When we were talking yesterday, we were talking about the Vader comic. Yeah. And that the movies like establish a myth around Darth Vader that he's done all these things, but you literally never see it.
You hardly ever see
He chokes his friends and fires a laser into a planet. And the comics are so great because they show you what he can do and him committing these acts.
Yeah, make some really bad puns. Did he do that in the comics?
Yeah, that line was garbage.
That was real bad.
Darth Vader is a very sarcastic guy, though. I stand by
Suck
that.
it.
But I love that Vader got that scene at the end because the whole what kept coming up in my mind throughout this, because I don't know. It's
go anywhere.
I don't know the weird way I look, because I love the Death Star. I love the Star Destroyer. I'm always gravitate towards ships because of aircraft and all that. Ships. Troops, plans, like less about the characters and the stories. Even with Resident Evil, I'm like, the viruses are the coolest part, guys. But with this, I was like, and Cobra's always cooler than G.I. Joe. So like the Empire, it's like they're the bad guys. But 2 things here. One, the Empire constantly gets jobbed out to shit. The Stormtroopers never look threatening. The scary black Stormtroopers never look threatening. Nothing about the Empire.
What about the Tan M&M
It seems like
showed up?
How did any of these people get in power? Because they're inept at everything, and every device they build is idiotic. Well, here's a giant 4-legged thing now on a beach, which is like, this is the worst place you could ever put these things. On a beach?
To rust? Is that what you're...
So the sand and the salt and all that shit, like, why would they be here? On the most uneven... unsustainable terrain. Anyway, moving on.
As the Force Moon of Endor taught us, they are very choosy about where they put their shield generators.
I thought that was a bit of a game changer. Sorry, you can keep going.
But what I liked about Vader getting that moment at the end was like, here's something from the Empire unapologetically kicking ass,
and efficient,
and efficiently, and without mercy. And yeah, the Death Star gets a couple shots off that are really impressive, but it's like, this is almost despite yourself. You lose every encounter. People with fucking rocks beat you regularly. Teddy bears will school your ass in 6 years. But also Vader too often is like, here he is on Dumbo, here he is on a baby onesie. Like he's supposed to.
Here he is doing the hammer dance live from Tomorrowland.
Live from Tomorrowland. It's oh no, kids, watch out! It's
here comes Vader. Ho 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 ho.
And it's like that. He needs to be a villain. He needs to stop being like just this character that was like, "Yay, Darth Vader! Can I get a picture with Darth Vader?"
I would have. I don't like as being a kid. I still would have preferred things, but I would have preferred more Vader moments if you're going to have him there anyway.
I'm glad he was used sparingly. I don't want a whole movie of Vader walking around doing shit. But like, I did like that James Earl Jones has the wherewithal to keep doing the voice.
I swear, he sounded. I was like, this doesn't sound like Vader, but James Earl Jones is 40 years older.
I mean,
it's not his fault.
I am shocked he's still alive. People are talking about how it was Mustafar as well, and that was like, I was shocked that it was Mustafar, and it gave more character to Vader, that he built his own Jedi or Sith temple on Mustafar, that he stayed there because that's where he became Vader truly.
I thought that was cool.
And also, the revelation that when Vader's like napping, it's when he's in a fucking tube to try to fix his burned skin or at least make it feel
it made me think about like, his whole life is probably on to make his demeanor worse. He's probably uncomfortable his entire life if that's how he has to sleep.
He is a torso held up by robot arms,
a giant open wound.
Covered in burns.
Back to Tank.
Wanted to get to that because
that's right. Thank you.
Willie Fresh made me laugh. Where'd you get your source on this? InfoStarWars.com. To fans of fake news out there.
Wikipedia.
To fans of fake news out there. There was no scene involving a Donald Trump character being racist.
Oh, yes.
And now that's completely wrong, and I know you're going to stop talking about it, but that was a 2-week running hashtag dump Star Wars.
Yeah.
Please learn how to delineate your news into truthful sources, and if you haven't learned enough about Darth Vader and Donald Trump after these 40 years, maybe the coincidences aren't coincidental. Like,
it is something I noticed. Not so much in this film, but in the Vader comics, they make sure that Vader kills a lot more Empire officers than he does anybody else.
Yeah, in the movies.
Well, I think he just has like open contempt. Like, and that's what I loved about the Vader comic. Against all odds, how much I like a Darth Vader comic book.
Star Wars makes space Nazis look bad.
But I love that, like Vader, like you get a sense from the first Star Wars that he's like the ultimate Empire goon. But then through Empire and Jedi, and then now the comics, you get more of a sense of like, he doesn't seem particularly beholden to the Empire at all. No. He has kind of an affinity for the Emperor himself.
Yeah. But he even hates Emperor because he tricked him into it.
He tricked him, but you still get a sense that he's just like, yeah, I'm along for the ride here, but like, I don't really give a shit about the military and this Death Star. Like, if it blows up,
that's why I think the Empire is inefficient. Yeah. Because it's powerful. It doesn't have a belief system or the will of the people behind them.
The Empire is losing the best minds it could get by not wanting diversity. It's something they never actually have a meeting in Star Wars where an Empire says, we don't hire non-white people
darkies
and no aliens either, but it is all white humans. It's all white humans who work in the Empire.
And it was that way in 77.
I'm sure that has a lot to do with a London set, but
well, they did have those Asian aliens helping them at the beginning of
no, they work for the Trade Federation. They don't work for him.
Oh God! Can't wait for the YouTube comments.
I do love that British people are the Empire still, like, but Vader's always Vader hated the Death Star in the first movie. He's just like
this bucket of bolts sucks.
It's nothing like the Force. The Force is way more powerful than this machine.
And Willie Fresh is pointing out Vader's almost a nobody in New Hope. Officers barely respect him.
Yeah.
And Connor Wade's asking no love for Mads Mikkelsen.
Let's talk about
He's
Mads.
fine, but
I think that could have been anybody, to be honest. It didn't have any of his trademarked intensity or his trademark shit coming out of his eyes.
Yeah, that's
that didn't happen either.
I like him, but it was like,
I love him.
I didn't even know he was in the movie. When he showed up, I was like, we just saw Doctor Strange in that same theater like 4 days ago.
Both him and Forrest Whitaker, like that.
Forrest Whitaker, who has gone like full Fred Sanford for this role.
I thought his design was awesome. But I thought like what he amounts to and what happens, that he's basically in 2 rooms in the entire movie. is and I thought he would be a bigger part of it.
To me, but he's a Clone War character.
It's a major moment in Star Wars fandom that a extended universe, or not even extended, but something from not a movie then comes into the movie.
I think that's nuts. I think that's crazy. I didn't know that at all. I'm not familiar with Rebels.
He's on Rebels. Yeah, his character Saul Goodman.
Maybe I'll catch up with it.
He literally looked like a hoarder who just kept everything on his own body.
Well, he's a lot more. If you've seen the pictures of the character from Rebels, a lot of shit has happened to this guy between Rebels and now.
But Dave is right. It does look like the blaxploitation version of Jesus. What's his name from Mad Max? Never mind. I lost the joke.
He wasn't in any of the trailers, or I don't remember seeing him much. But
he was.
Riz Ahmed, aka Bodhi Rook, the pilot, the Imperial pilot, he was really good.
Yeah, he was a really confusing. Well, not a confusing character, but a much different character than we've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. Whereas he didn't entirely seem capable. You sort of felt bad for him being in so far over his head, and
even at the end, he's kind of like telling you guys go do this.
Yeah,
like he finds himself, man. It's the arc.
A sequence of torture, and I saw people making fun of the film for this, or a film criticism of this, but they brought this movie brings the war to Star Wars, and at times it made me uncomfortable in a way movies like this should. But that this is a war. This was we've only seen the war of Star Wars fought inside fucking boardrooms at the highest level or escaping. And there's one battle on Endor.
Yeah, well, the Battle of Endor is a war. I mean, the mission...
Dude, you've already had like 4 caveats, and not to mention the end of the first movie is a giant war.
Yeah, but
Jedi is a 3-pronged war.
But I always assume
the second movie is called Attack of the Clones.
But when they call it wars, I always assume there's these battles occurring all over these different planets.
Well, it's because up to this point it was never shot like a war film.
And
it was shot like a sci-fi movie. This is the first one that's filmed like a war movie.
I don't have a good example. I keep using Inglourious Bastards, or like. But for lack of a better example, Henry used The Wild Bunch. Is that based on a true story?
No, but I mean it's one of a million westerns that are about the death of the West.
I can't come up with anything but Imitation Game.
Everybody's dead.
But Imitation Game, these movies where they show you this behind the scenes story of this true small skirmish, this covert operation that did win the war, and like that's what makes me interested in this.
Right.
And when I see the stormtroopers' job, there's a scene. The one that reminds me, like, it looked like a fucking Normandy U-boat. The stormtroopers like run out of a bottleneck and all get picked off. Well, and it's like we just had one humanized with Flynn in the last film, and you start and like I'm feeling bad for stormtroopers.
When you say they keep missing, Brett, though, they hit a lot of people because they
kill
everybody.
They hit a bunch of nobodies.
But now they're flawed, untrained orphans, basically forced into this job.
Yeah, but this is the empire that we're supposed to be fearful of, and at no point in this movie do I get a sense that like this business, that this empire has its shit together on any level.
There are many regimes I'm afraid of. Well, I'm fearful of.
Right, but this is a fictional.
I don't consider them competent.
This is a fictional one that's presented as an authoritative evil force, and it's like you guys just seem like you're real lucky.
Yeah, but I mean
that you're in charge of shit because nothing about your rule is practical in any way.
Yes, but going back to New Hope, they couldn't hit 4 people in a hallway. They're all in a hallway.
No, but that's why I mean, like, you can let this stuff go for so long, but then it's like they round the corner. How many times heroes round the corner just in this movie to a row of stormtroopers?
Yes.
They all shoot and none of the bolts hit anybody, and you're like. Can someone just get shot like by one of these stray things, like a main character? Like surprise me, have someone get hit at all.
We did see characters get shot. Like,
but like so many soldiers overwhelming them in almost 360 degrees that don't hit them, and then when they do get hit, you're supposed to be like, oh no, they got it. It's like you should have been dead. Like
did they
700.
say it was so many stormtroopers? I thought they threw out a line like 80. Like there were 80.
That was inside the building. Precisely where they. But I mean, like even on the first city they're in, where they're running around before it gets blown up by the Death Star. Like there's just. I mean, I know that's just part of the thing. You gotta like they can't. The stormtroopers can't be that effective because then how do you make your actual villains like Vader and Tarkin? How do you make them seem threatening if your grunts are super threatening? But like. These scripts just keep throwing heroes against walls of stormtroopers, and they keep getting away. It's like if you keep throwing Starfleet at the Borg, and the Borg keep getting punked. It's like, well, the Borg probably aren't that. It's just like
I understand what you're saying because I do see stormtroopers touch the ground, and I feel they're like the shadow of the ship that can do damage. They're just foretelling the badass who will walk out with a flowing cape.
Yeah, it didn't it didn't make me. I didn't like it. Didn't affect my enjoyment of the movie. It's just more like that's why when Vader goes nuts at the end, I'm like, good, please, someone from the Empire look effective because I'm having a real hard time believing you guys are controlling anything.
Maybe they shouldn't have assassinated all the Jedis and converted a few.
Well,
maybe
great. Well, fitting in with what Brett's talking about too, the Imperial Walkers, when they show up, at first it's like, oh shit, Imperial Walkers. But even they get taken out pretty quick for like.
I did feel that.
At least there were X-wings here, so I'm like, fine.
Yeah, but how many X-wings were in the Hoth battle? It didn't take one out with one shot.
The X-wings were escorting the freighters out. It was more the snow speeders.
It wasn't an attack mission; it was an escape mission.
It was the snow speeders that were actually engaging the.
And it wasn't one hit to the neck of an. Because I love it when they what's his name hit him with the rocket launcher. It just went. Ow.
I did like that. I like the anthropomorphizing of like it wouldn't do that and then slowly I did love. I've seen it come up in the chat a few times. I did like that there was the canonical explanation for why the Death Star has this silly thing.
I really needed that to work, and that I felt it was sufficient.
And I felt like it did. I think naming it when she was like, "What do you think the Project Stardust?" Like soon as like wonder what the of course it's the name they've said 500 times. You don't have. It's me. I know. I know. This was telegraphed from the beginning of the movie that she would name it this. Like
it was. But it's just one of those movies where it was like the little reasons, the little details that you needed to figure out.
Yes, not how did Darth Vader become Darth Vader. I don't need to know that. But
I needed 9 hours to tell me.
Yes, I really
9
did.
hours.
But why there was a port here, like. That it's some guy who's like, you forced me to build this thing I hated, and I'll put in this easily overlooked flaw.
I loved his explanation. Like, I had become the best liar in the fucking universe, and I tore this thing down from within by making it the most efficient thing ever, the most expensive thing ever, with this one awesome exploitable flaw. And when you pointed out as a ship, there was one shot of it being built, and I love they quickly showed it as like the circle, a separate weapon from like the craft.
Sure.
And like I just saw the interior, I'm like, yeah, that would have been 2 components, wouldn't it?
Well, as set up in the book Darksaber, the Death Star is really just a station around the tube that shoots the laser. You could just build the tube that shoots the laser, but then you wouldn't have anything. All the old tech. But I also like that it was that guy was that Mads character was able to get in there because the guy was under pressure of like, I got to finish this and it's not getting finished. Nobody else knows how to make it. So come on. So that's also the explanation of why he would hire back a guy who hates the Empire to build the ultimate weapon. Good setup from the beginning.
Like I can and should kill you right now. Just you have to come build this.
I did like Jesse Ainsworth saying, was the Hammerhead ship from KOTOR? I guess I didn't realize.
That was it? I'm not familiar with that ship. That was fucking awesome.
Smashes into the Star Destroyer.
Holy shit.
Pushes it.
It sliced it off like fancy cheese. Like it scraped the Star Destroyer.
I still don't get every time in these... every time a Star Destroyer loses power, it immediately starts dipping down, and it's like it would just go inert and float there.
That's what I thought it was on Jeddah when it's like it's hovering. Like, dude, that must cost like $5 billion a day for that thing to hover in orbit.
And I hated thinking that as soon as I saw the star, I'm like, that looks great.
You would hear that from like 9 cities away.
Like that looks cool as shit, but like. How is it hovering there? That has to be a tremendous amount of energy.
We've seen the bottom of it. Like, it's like, how is this working?
And so in my mind, I was actually like, maybe it just taps into the magnetic field of the planet, and then it can just like hang there motionless. I don't know. But for like about 8 seconds, I was like, how much energy are they wasting just having this thing hover? Like whatever it could do, it could shoot from orbit.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to.
Well, it did take off like the jets and spin.
And then I'm thinking about. But like the gravity of the planet pulling it in doesn't totally do it for me because like there's shit in orbit around them, and like just because you're in orbit doesn't mean
I meant in the atmosphere.
But like they're you can have a decaying orbit. You can have a decaying orbit, but like the ships go like, oh, it's like I'm dipping down, and it's like that. You just kind of like drift.
I always assume they build them in space, like they never go into atmosphere.
But like when I don't know. It's like they do it in Jedi. Like the Super Star Destroyer crashes into the Death Star, and it's like everything like goes.
I want to talk K2SO in a second, Mike and Christopher. I did want to know from people who know a little more about this than I do. The subject of we were yelling about Star Trek shields a while back.
If you've played any X-Wing games, you know that they do have shields. You got to hit them with ion cannons to break down
all
the shields.
All the games have shields, but like we haven't heard much about the shields in any other movie other than Jedi, and let alone seen one that you can crash a plane into. Because I always thought of them like a film.
Well, those little golf balls at the top of the little golf ball things at the top of a Star Destroyer. Those are the shield generators, and you can either take those out or you'll hit them with enough ion cannons. That's why the B-wing is pretty good because it has a dedicated ion blaster.
I think so too, Derek. It has some snarky lines, but I thought K2SO was good comedic relief, like just the right amount.
Part,
absolutely.
I was a little disappointed. Like, granted, the entire construct of the movie that you're expecting everyone to die.
Yeah.
But that one scene when he's tapping into another Imperial droid to get the map or whatever, I'm like, ooh, he's baby Grooting himself. Yeah. He's gonna that one will get out, and then the next there'll be some other movie he could pop up in. But like, and it really helped that I think he was the first of the squad to die, and it was.
He was. And it tells you. Fun's over
because I was
comic relief just got shot to death.
I'm watching the movie just so we can do this, and I'm filing away the comment. Like the actors I could have named from this all die after like 2 scenes. All the named actors I can recognize. And never mind, it is absolutely. And once I saw it happen once, I'm like, everything must go. I do not want to hear. These people need. I don't want to see these characters again unless it's in statue form.
There was
on a stabilized planet.
There was a point too where I was thinking about them that I was like, well. If any of them survived this, they would be high-ranking officers in the Rebel fleet, and we would have seen them on Yavin 4, or like it'd be hard to explain why they're not around. Though then again, Mon Mothma is never seen in 4 or 5.
Did we address Star Wars is trying to end the era of the gay robots? As Daniel Latrice. Mike Grimm just sent me a fucking Mad Magazine clip from the Mad parody of Star Wars. Did you see that?
No.
Just C-3PO go and R2D2. It's like. This guy's a frig.
Of all the planets, I get stuck on the one with the F-word robots.
Yeah. Well, so the
oh man,
you talk about
I've just never heard that criticism until like modern modern conversations.
The 3PO R2 scene
that's what I was trying to get to.
A bit indulgent.
Randolph said he found it distracting, and I did too because it made me all of a sudden think where the fuck what time is it? Where are they?
Because they have to be on the same ship as Leia. So where do they get there? But oppositely, it was so you could still say Anthony Daniels has been in every Star Wars movie.
I understand that, but I love the help of the chat too.
Well,
establishing where the ships are.
Bail Organa is going decides.
Once again, your moment. The funniest part of the movie was actually you with fucking Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits like. Hey, later, guys. Got to get to Alderaan. And Henry's like,
yeah. I would love if they could somehow fit in another movie between him leaving and Alderaan getting blown up, just like Han in Fast and Furious. Like, well, I guess now I'll go back to Alderaan.
Jason Statham, bounty hunter.
So Bail Organa makes his decision that he's going to contact Obi-Wan Kenobi to give them help with their new empire. He's like, okay, the rebels are actually going to be at war with the Empire. I got to get that old general from the Clone Wars. And so he leaves that room. He's like, I'm going to tell my daughter to do this. He gave her the message. Right after that, I believe, is when 3PO and R2 were there, so they could have boarded his cruiser right after that with Leia and all the But
Captain he was never Antilles. On the ground, was he?
What? Wait,
they were on the ground.
No, they were. He was on the ground too. His meeting with Mon Mothma was in the base on Yavin 4. He was chatting with her there, like they were all on the base in Yavin 4.
Perpetual Christopher is a good point. It does make the movie leading directly up to New Hope, it does make the "we are on a diplomatic mission" excuse stupid.
Yeah.
Because you just stole the plans 5 minutes ago, and Darth Vader saw you do it.
You know what? That's true.
He just watched it happen.
Like, I watched you leave. I killed everybody who was there. Like, what are you fucking
Diplomacy is a broad term.
Like, yeah, that's true. He's right not to believe Leia. Like, he knew exactly what was up with her. And yeah, and also this was the death of the Senate too. When Bail Organa and Mon Mothma and the other people were there, like, we shouldn't go to war. That's because the Senate still existed. Once Darth catches up with Leia, and it's just like, and she says the Senate won't like this. He's like, the Senate's done, baby. We just ended the Senate. It was because of this moment. Like, that was open warfare. Now, maybe there is a version of this movie that existed where they transmit the plans and then they don't immediately go to the start of episode 4. But I think they wanted to have like a very clear handoff. Just they didn't want to leave any gray zone. They're like, everybody exploded, and then episode 4
I was shocked once I saw that hallway had the escape pods ready. Like, really? Like, right up to here? And of course, we were watching at Alamo Draft House where you get your check in the start of the third act.
Yes.
So you know it's
always
the end.
fun.
Yeah.
I'm used to. I've been there so much now. It doesn't bother me.
No, there was a, like, for a second, like with the Lucasfilm logo coming up. I'm like, if there's a crawl and there's a waiter in front of me when it comes up, I'm gonna
fuck a crawl. A crawl is an old film technique. If you need it now, you're a goddamn hack. If you can't explain what's happening in the opening of your film,
well, with Star Wars, you just expect it.
A crawl just makes me feel nostalgic.
But I like it for the main series. Again, I want to keep the Skywalkers and I want to keep love in the Force in the main series. And I would love.
Vader's a Skywalker.
I do know this. I do.
But there was
Stop spoiling everything.
Also, no kiss between.
I thought they were going for with that guy who looks like a fucking French cartoon character.
I love Diego Luna. So
both of the couples in the movie got to hold hands.
But like episode
those
7,
two, and then the heavy and the monk.
Oh,
but like I loved episode 7 also for not having any romance. Like,
well, I think
no one hooks up.
I think episode 7.
It's like friends forever.
I think anything with episode or number sort of needs to be about the Skywalkers remain sort of important. And I would love, but I would really love to see another one of these films disconnected from a majority of the characters.
Well, so this does leave me wondering: Han Solo spinoff or Han Solo prequel is the next one,
right?
They cast Han Solo. They cast.
He's in the guy, one of the leads in Hail Caesar, which is a fantastic film, and he is
Donald
awesome.
Glover is Lando, which is fucking
That's
perfect.
Great, man. That's so
and
good.
it's directed by the 2122 Jump Street and Lego Movie
Phil
guys,
Lord and
Miller. And so, though, I'm kind of going to be disappointed if that movie ends with him saying like, well, Chewie, let's go to that place Mos Eisley. Sounded pretty cool. Like, I really hope they don't have to do a direct handoff to episode 4.
I got a Groupon for this bar. Let's go.
And by the way, those two guys
Ponda Baba and
that was the most.
I was like, come on.
The worst cameos I've seen in a long time were in a movie I liked called The Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters have my least favorite distracting cameos, and that was the closest they got to it. Those two characters. Why are they here? Why do we need to see them? What for so long?
Ooh, I'm seeing Aziz, our old buddy Aziz, is bringing up that the Han Solo film has the same cinematographers as The Arrival.
Is that a good thing, Ilson? Is
yeah,
that a pretty movie?
The movie looks fantastic.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen did really good in that movie. No, I kid.
Why would they call it The Arrival? It had two
There's
straight
only
to
so
DVD
many
spin-offs.
words. There's only so many words you can name stuff.
That city was destroyed like an hour later, says Willie First, with those two characters on it.
Wait a minute.
I don't like it here either.
Well,
we should go to
right now.
Let's go to a different shitty bar.
Let's fly to Tatooine right now. Like, we got to be there in 2 days. Did they get in a fight in a bar?
And where they get another fight? Well, no. There has to be a lot of time that passes because, like,
well, okay,
because Obi-Wan has to get the information to know and like all that shit.
Well, okay, so
you have to think about all the days that go by.
And then 3PO and R2 land on Tatooine. They're walking around for a while.
Yeah,
and then they're captured by the Jawas for a while. And then they live with Luke for like what? Just 1 day, and then R2 leaves, and he chases after him, and that's when that day starts. Like, fine, I could allow up to a month, and fine, it took him a month.
That's a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah,
but that is a ridiculous cameo.
Yeah,
I chuckled, so it didn't like this sucks, but it was kind of like, can you tone down the like?
I just
believe in yourself to make a movie.
I wish it was one of those things one of you had to point out to me later, but instead it was prolonged. There was a reverse shots, like with no real dialogue between the two characters.
Same costumes, but not the same actor.
Not the same actors.
Well, but it's all that makeup doesn't have to be the same actor.
It made me kind of bummed because there's 14 years in between Sith and Star Wars. 4?
Wait. Between
like
Sith and Star Wars? No, 20.
20 years?
18 or 20. It depends on how old Luke is. I think if you think of him, but it is nailed down. People in the chat, is it 18 or 19? Seeing 19 from Chase.
It made me bummed out to think about because Ewan McGregor, who I love, and he's not responsible for any bad thing in the prequel trilogies. I think he not only did the best he could, I think he elevated the terrible material as best he could.
Yeah.
And he talked about not only being receptive to doing more, his voices, he did new VO for Force Awakens, to doing not 1 but 2 Obi-Wan films. But the comics have bridged what Obi-Wan did is in like, it's nothing.
Well, so yeah, it's actually a really good.
It's a great story.
There's a single issue story. I believe it was issue 7 of the Star Wars series, written by Jason Aaron. I forget the artist on that one, but
it's just him following Luke.
It was about this internal struggle he was having, which you get none of that shit in the prequels. Yeah. But this was Obi-Wan has been fighting for justice his entire life, and he's just used to like well, I'm going to, somebody's being horrible. I'm going to pull out my lightsaber and fix this problem. But now he's like, no, you have to be the hermit in the desert and do nothing, and you can't blow your cover because you're the last Jedi alive.
You're the last Jedi alive, and you accidentally see Luke getting bullied by some swamp rats. Yes. You cannot even intervene in that. Nope. And that was a really good story. There's so many really good stories in the comics, especially if you haven't read. I haven't read any more other than C-3PO #1, but the story of his red arm is fucking beautiful, and it makes me like Alan Tudyk's robot character even more.
K2, yeah.
But what did they explain? Like, did he have like a data emotion chip, like or a sarcasm setting?
No, but I mean, droids in that world are not they're not emotionless. All droids have emotions. R2 is a feisty one.
Yeah, there's a lot of sassy droids in that universe.
All droids have personalities.
They did program C-3PO to be a coward, so
yeah, he's a coward. R2 is constantly swearing all the time, but in bleep bloops.
Roland, I love this movie too. I really did. I cannot wait to see this film again.
Though this was something Charlie pointed out to us. The last Gareth Edwards film we saw, I came away from Godzilla really enjoying it. The second time I watched it, I was like, fast forward.
I thought it was beautifully shot, but this slow molasses pace of getting to Godzilla. But he didn't really do that with.
Well, so Charlie, though, his point is like, let's give it a second viewing before we're certain this is a great one. But yeah,
because I wasn't on board immediately in the beginning. I'm just like, these are too many new names and too many new places.
I don't remember anybody's name from this movie.
Yeah, it is really hard. Here's one of my last questions before we wrap this up. Do you think all of big spoilers, by the way, people? Do you think all the characters are actually dead? Actually, never mind. I remember what happens.
They all explode.
We now know you can like probably if you're skilled enough, you can surf a Death Star explosion, maybe off the planet.
Yeah, someone was saying earlier, like if Phasma can get off the planet that blew up in Episode 7, then theoretically someone could have got off. But it was
fire immolates them. Yeah. They're gone.
Yeah, I just thought that like the blind dude had like one moment of like, okay, maybe he's not dead. Because he just like an explosion came at him over a box. But never mind, the planet's not there.
And to get slightly off topic, that trailer for Kong, seeing it before this movie reminded me like this Kong movie is the opposite of Godzilla because or at least the trailers have been like, this is funny. Here's King Kong right fucking now, and we're just cutting.
It is very Godzilla-y in that like, there's a bunch of other big monsters for it to fight.
Yeah,
but that they have a Steve Brule reference in King Kong. I'm like, what?
You guy's gonna die.
His jacket says for your health. Like,
does it really?
Yeah, something for your health. And I'm like,
really?
wait, no, that can't.
Why do you guys think this movie was liked by George Lucas so much as Daniel Treese? I think because George Lucas
him so hard on his first movie.
He's been dying to tell some kind of political allegory for a long time, and I think this movie was able to do that a little headier. I didn't expect it from Disney. I really didn't. I expected. I don't know. I think that's why I liked it because
now wait a minute. The owner of Disney or the CEO of Disney said this is not a political film and it's not a political choice.
I don't think it's a political film, but it
is
but no, well, I think it makes you consider war of that nature in a way that Star Wars never asked you to. It never asked you to dwell on the planet of Alderaan, the collateral damage of destroying a whole fucking planet.
And you know what else? They said shades of gray earlier in the chat. There were shades of gray to the rebels. Like,
yes, there were factions.
Diego Luna kills that guy. Yeah. He's just like, we're not all making out of it alive. Right? Yeah. He also says all the rest of us here have done really bad things.
And nobody else felt that after John Boyega's character showing us what a stormtrooper is now. You felt no sympathy for them being mowed down as they're funneled out of a U-boat by the Resistance. Like I thought, like that scene made me uncomfortable. Now that I know who stormtroopers are, if you read that passage about him being in he knew that guy with the fucking.
Oh, the guy with his
traitor.
That's his friend. That's his friend. They grew up together, and like they don't. It's the only life they've known. And as I love that line from Jen of like, I don't have the luxury of being political. Like this is just the life I was born into.
Oh yeah, and as Willie Fresh says, crying children in the war-torn streets. That was the sequence there.
Yeah,
and. It was a harsher film. I've seen people say on Twitter, and it's true. Like this is not a kids' film. Like kids should not.
I like
go
that
to
about
see
it
this one.
because someone asked, "Do you think they'll do an R-rated movie?" Never will that happen.
There's no money in that. Like
Vader,
there was just the story.
Jabba can't even vape anymore.
There was just the story that Hugh Jackman had to take a pay cut to have the Old Man Logan film be R-rated because they're like, well, this is going to make less money because it's R-rated, so we can't pay you.
I think they cast that die with fucking the Wolverine game, which is awesome and violent, and lost a bunch of people money and sunk a studio.
Yes.
So I don't. It is PG-13. I love saying that to Cherry. Like, would you bring your kid to that? And she's like, to this? Are you kidding? I'm like, you're. What's it rated? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm sure you're the P now in PG-13.
Connor is saying that Jeddah reminded them too much of Aleppo.
Yes, that whole sequence.
Guess what, guys? I think Star Wars movies are going to remind you of a lot of things for a long time now. And
you'll probably project whatever you think on the good guys and whatever you dislike on the bad guys. And that's what it's there for.
Yeah, and this is... So, yeah, I mean, where will we be... I wouldn't have imagined the year that took place in between us seeing episode 7 and seeing this one. I don't know where we'll be when we see episode 8. Like, I don't
movies
know
are only for good people.
Like,
good people only get to see movies.
To take things back to the movie, Jesse Ainsworth. Did anyone notice the jug of blue milk at the start? It was actually a bit distracting, and
it was like centered in a shot as it's pulling in, and I'm like, here we go.
The mother was looking at it in a way that I thought she was like, let's pack some of this to go.
Yeah, it was just like there was a little too much member for me.
Yeah, sure, yes, it was. But
I realize what my job is now is literally just professional memberer.
Your job is a member berry.
But it's like
quite a realization that you're live on camera having a realization.
Well, no, I'm well aware of it. It's just like, again, I just like there's a difference between cameos and winks to the camera, and it's like, I'm ready for the Star Wars movie that doesn't bring the rest of the Star Wars movie with it. Yeah. And even though this is a prequel, it's like you didn't have to have all these cameos. You didn't have to do all this stuff. And like we already had the movie that was a giant remake of New Hope. That was fan service.
I know there's a cottage industry about hating on Force Awakens. I still think it's a fun film.
Loved it. I love Force Awakens.
Great.
Like,
though I think it shows
really fresh as he's out of nostalgia for New Hope.
I think it shows you how much goodwill they've earned back with The Force Awakens. That if they said in Force Awakens, we brought back Jimmy Smits, or if you saw anything that reminded you of the prequels, I feel like people would have had an immediate like, ugh, but in this one, they're like, we can have an actor for the prequels.
When he showed up, I was like, nice.
Awesome.
Like, that's cool.
I've seen it in
a piece of connective tissue.
The comics have done it a couple times, and it is jarring because you really can't in your brain gel those two trilogies together.
Leia visiting Naboo,
or like those little fucking hooded shield droids rolling up inside in front of Darth Vader.
Or just seeing a Gungan and you're like, fuck you, Gungans.
But it happens in the comics pretty frequently.
No Gungans in that world, though. I did like when they had some
really few
weirdo aliens in the
I like
Rebels,
the tiny
like
one.
The little guy.
The tiny one, if I could find his action figure, that's what I'm getting.
So Warwick Davis is in this movie, and I'm wondering if that was him in some way, shape, or form.
No, that guy was too little.
He was much. Yeah, he was real short. Well, I think we got to cut it off. Any parting thoughts?
I'm pro it. Good movie. Some minor eye rolling moments of like, but the best cast a Star Wars film has ever had.
I liked it as an ensemble war movie where you're not supposed to love every character or a Magnificent Seven Samurai kind of vibe to it. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it again. But it is not the same. It's not for the same general Star Wars audience, but it's nice to have something. If they're going to make a movie every year, it's nice that they do something this bold and ambitious and have it work so well for me. I'm grateful. Anybody else?
I mean, right now it's at the same like that. This and Force Awakens are kind of at that same level where I feel like I need to watch each one more time just to get the bearings of like which is the better movie. But
definitely like Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it more than
even though I know it's just it revels just as much in nostalgia. As
I would say a little less, but just because it's not following the same beats of the original story.
Right. Yeah.
But I do this. I think I might like this more than Force Awakens, just because it tastes totally different.
I gotta watch it again.
Jesse Ainsworth brings up a good point. The Death Star was an inside job.
Wow, it was. Man,
they put a steel beam right at the center.
Yes, it's like what Marvel is doing.
But it's not better than Empire, the shirt I'm wearing now. It's not better.
I don't even know anymore. Like, I can barely enjoy the older movies.
Empire's the greatest. I've watched it recently still again. I'm like, nope, still great. Still great story.
I got it. What I should probably do, and my sister tried to do it last year, is go home for Christmas break and download that remastered what is it called? The
unspecial edition.
The unspecial edition.
What? Wait, one quick question. Some of the Star Destroyers, was it either that the CG has progressed to this point, or the first time you see a Star Destroyer and like the light, and it's kind of in the shadow of the Death Star? I swear some of those looked like practical effects.
It looked like models.
It looked like a model for the not every shot, but like some of those shots of the I was like, either that CG looks really good and tactile and casting hard shadows.
I couldn't decide whether it looked good or bad because it looked more model-y than and that's Force Awakens.
I thought it looked
specialized. People are saying.
I thought it looked crisp and beautiful, and then the moment it was juxtaposed with CG, I'm like, I can tell that one's CG because it's a little too clean. Or
I would love to look into that a little more. If it wouldn't surprise me.
I thought they looked awesome
because like the creatures in the movie now, like there's the one torture creature was CG, but everybody else seemed to have like was mostly practical.
Yeah,
that guy's mouth who screamed right before he died. I loved it. I got them the specialized cuts that you need them. Thank you, Bawoosh. I might hit you up for that.
I would love to watch those.
But thank you guys so much for watching. Anything else? I don't want to cut anybody off.
No, good stuff. Yeah. I liked it a lot. I'm still on board for a yearly Star Wars film.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't be more on board now.
I'll probably see it a second time with my mom over Christmas. Like that's when I saw Force Awakens for a second.
This is a new renewed hope. I hope I get the opportunity to see it with my friends' sons and daughters. That was very rewarding to see Force Awakens with them after I'd already seen it. Just like watching them getting ready to see if they care. Thanks, guys. You've been watching and listening to Laser Time. We were streaming this live if you are only tuning into the podcast form.
And we have one more live thing for you in 2016. We're going to watch Home Alone 2 live Monday night as voted on by y'all.
Times, Dave?
Yeah. We'll have that for you.
Yeah, but we'll definitely do it. And thank you so much to our patrons, lasertime.com/Patreon.
Other way around.
Patreon.com/lasertime.
I'm tired. This is putting the... Baker's dozen of recordings for me this week.
It's a lot.
Hi everybody. But yes, thank you to our patrons. We will have shows for you almost entirely at the normal posting every single week.
We'll be editing them all weekend.
I got 3 Simpsons to go through, and I'm ready, baby. I'm excited.
And I hope nothing historical note happens because 30-2010 is all recorded up till January. And
we already killed Alan Thicke. Let's see who else we can get.
What more could happen in 2016? Nothing, right?
Yes,
we got 15 days.
I hope not. Especially that there's one recording, man. We could have made a real mistake. Let's see. But thank you guys so much. LaserTimePodcast.com. Please follow us on Facebook. We love you. Please, take a friend to see Rogue One. I thought it was really great. We will see you next time. Peace.
May the Force be with you. Always.